The Newsday continues here on One News Now Business. I'm Diego Castro. Here are the biggest stories on the economic and corporate fronts. The Philippines' balance of payments position swung to a surplus in October, ending 6 straight months of contraction. Central bank data show that the BOP surplus widened to $1.5 billion in October. That's a turnaround from the $414 million deficit in September and is higher than the $711 million surplus in October 2022. The October 2023 surplus was also the highest in 9 months, or since the $3 billion surplus recorded in January. The BSP said this development reflected mainly the improvement in the balance of trade, as well as higher net inflows from personal remittances, trade in services, and foreign borrowings by the national government. The agency adds that net inflows from foreign direct investments also contributed to the BOP surplus. The Treasury raised 15 billion pesos from its first ever sale of tokenized Treasury bonds. The Treasury said the maiden offering of one-year tokenized bonds had a coupon rate of 6.5%. Total demand for the tokenized bonds reached 31.4 billion pesos. A tokenized bond is a digitized form of a traditional bond. Rather than being represented by a physical document, it is stored as a digital token on a blockchain computer system. The Treasury said the issuance reflects its dedication to enhancing financial inclusion by modernizing its platforms and minimizing transaction costs. This, in turn, facilitates easier access for retail investors to government securities. President Bongbong Marcos secured $672 million in investment pledges from his 6-day working visit in the United States. According to the Presidential Communications Office, the pledges include $400 million for the telecommunications sector and $250 million for semiconductors and electronics, among others. In his arrival speech, Marcos also announced that the Philippines will host the 2024 Indo-Pacific Business Forum. It will be attended by a high-level business delegation formed by U.S. President Joe Biden that will look into possible investments in the country.
Altogether, we return to the Philippines with more or less $670 million in investment pledges that have the potential to create thousands of direct and indirect jobs for Filipinos within our country. We look forward to seeing more of these partnerships materialize in the months ahead, especially with the visit of the high-level U.S. Presidential Trade and Investment Mission in March.
We'll be back with more stories after the break. Keep it here on One News. You're still watching One News Now. I'm Diego Castro. Let's now take a quick look at some corporate headlines we are watching. Aboitiz Equity Ventures is one step closer to acquiring Coca-Cola Beverages Philippines. AEV enters into a definitive agreement with Coca-Cola Euro-Pacific Partners to buy CCBPI from the Coca-Cola Company for $1.8 billion. CCBPI is the exclusive bottler and distributor of the Coca-Cola Company products in the Philippines. JG Summit Holdings is infusing 11 billion pesos into its petrochemical business, JG Summit Olefins Corporation. JG SOC will use the funds to pay off its expansion project obligations and to support its operations amid the declining market and rising input costs. Hotel 101 Global, the Singapore-based hospitality subsidiary of Double Dragon Corporation, is gearing up for its plan to list on the US Nasdaq stock market. The company says it's currently in discussions with select special purpose acquisition companies, or SPAC. The SPAC route is one of the company's options to accelerate its global expansion, as well as a timetable of its planned IPO. Some shoppers have begun their early Christmas shopping in Divisoria ahead of the expected holiday rush. But because of elevated inflation, some merchants are not only noticing a drop in sales, but are also selling at a loss to accommodate their suki. Laila Pangilinan tells us more in this report.
For the early Christmas shopper on a budget, Divisoria is still the place to be. Among shoppers taking advantage of the smaller crowd is Linda. She says she and her family came all the way from Valenzuela and took around half a day to get everything on their list. Linda says they do this every year to avoid the holiday rush and get the best bargains.
Mas nakakaluwag sa amin kasi pagdating ng Disyembre, mas lalong marami ang mamimili. Tsaka mura pa sa ngayon.
The difference this year, however, is that the same budget from last year is no longer enough to cover everything on their list.
Yung budget namin, hindi magkasya ang 5,000. Kaya kailangan may dala kang sobra para hindi ka nababalik.
It's not only customers grappling with the effects of inflation. Divisoria merchants are also giving up profit just to accommodate customers, much like Stephanie, who sells rubber sandals. She says she hasn't adjusted prices since last year, even though she purchased them at a much higher price this year.
Lumit ang kita. Kaya medyo, siyempre pag itaas mo rin, laylo na yung mga tao. Siyempre namamahalan na sila. Puro tawan.
While some vendors have opted to adjust prices of their goods, there are still those willing to give discounts or haggle with their loyal customers.
Kasi may patong lang din kami, 3 piso, 2 piso, ganun lang. Okay na yun. Mabilisan lang. Para kaya ng mga bata kahit paano.
Vendors, though, have noticed a slump in sales this November compared to the same time last year, saying there is a big difference in Filipinos' purchasing power.
Kasi yung mga nakaraang taon naman medyo maganda-ganda. Ito lang taon na ito talaga. Sobrang tumal. Pero pag Saturday, Sunday, doon lang kami nakakabawi. Pagdating ng Monday to Friday, medyo laylo.
As the holiday season approaches, Divisoria merchants are still hopeful that sales will eventually pick up and more people will flock Metro Manila's bargain hub. For News 5, Laila Pangilinan, we are One News.
And those are the top business stories of the hour. I'm Diego Castro. Join us again at 2 p.m. We are One News, all sides, all the time.